G'day, so we're out here with Kenny and we've got our 2-week check-in. The first thing I'm going to do with him is just ask for a lateral flexion. Nice and soft there, that's good. I'll do a couple of these. If he wants to move his feet, I'll hold on to him and I won't release until he stops his feet and gets soft. That's good. We'll do the hind quarter. He's nice and responsive there. Just that slight shift of energy. He's real responsive. I really like that. For a horse of his size and build and type, I wouldn't expect him to be that responsive. I really like how he's improving here with this lateral flexion. He's been real inclined here to turn his face upside down instead of flexing laterally properly. There, he comes around to me nice. That's awesome. He did that by himself. I really like that. He's getting the idea that this is where the release is. That's cool. I'll pick up on that. He turns his face upside down. I'm going to jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. No, change your idea. There, that's better. Good. Ask again. Good. Nice and soft there too. I like that. And yield a hind quarter. Nice. Well done. Good kid. I'll do a bit of desensitising with the rope. It still amazes me. You know, I'm doing a lot of work with a lot of different horses, and it still amazes me the amount of problem horses that I see, or horses that people are having problems with. And especially when it's like an anxiety related thing, like the horse is overreactive at shows and, you know, rearing and pulling them around on the lead and won't settle down, that sort of thing. It really amazes me the amount of horses that are like that, and I can't do a simple exercise like toss this rope over. You toss that rope over their back and they just melt down and lose their shit. And, you know, they'll rear up and jump back and jump 10 feet sideways and want to drag you all over the pen. And to me, if you can't toss this little rope over a horse's back, why would you think it's going to be okay for you to strap the hide of another dead animal to his back and then climb on him like a predator would and swing your leg over? If you can't swing this little rope over, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're setting the horse up for failure, and it's not a good combination. It's not a good idea. You know, you need to get these foundations sorted. And like this is part of a standard foundation in any horse. I do the same thing with my cow horses, western horses, you know, quarter horses and stock horses and those types. This is a basic standard foundation, and it works on every single breed of horse. Doesn't matter what discipline they're going to go into, doesn't matter what discipline they're bred for. This foundation sets them up to be able to go into specialty training of any sort and be confident and willing learners, and not be a horse that's going to be overly reactive and you know, anxious all the time and worried about you touching his bum when you're sitting in the saddle or those types of things. You know, plastic bag blows across in front of him, he's not gonna lose his shit and melt down and fall to pieces. He's gonna go, oh, that looked a little bit cool. Like, you know, he'll notice things, but he's not gonna go, oh shit, that plastic bag's gonna kill me. You know, these are things we need to think about with these horses and work on all these stuff before we take them out to a pressure situation like a show or an event. Good kid. I'll send him off to the left here. Good. He's wanting to pull on me a little bit there. That's all right. I'll just remind him to get off that and stay soft. That's better. So he's finding a little bit of a feel there. He's sort of exploring, finding a bit of a feel, but then he comes off that feel. I'm not having a pull on him. He's just finding a little bit of pressure there, and then he'll give to it with his nose, he'll bend through his body and come off it. So that's cool. Yield a hind quarter, change direction. That's real nice. That's real nice and smooth and responsive. And I would not expect a horse of his size and breed to be that smooth and responsive at that manoeuvre. He's really, really cool with it. Yield the hindquarter, change direction. And he is yielding that hindquarter away and then drawing his shoulder through and stepping his shoulder across correctly. I'm really, really pleased with that. I'm going to bump on him a little bit there as he started pulling on me, remind him to get off that. Now I'm going to yield a hindquarter. And he's come through without me asking. Yield a hindquarter. I'm going to back him up. Good. Well done. So I'm going to up the ante a little bit with his desensitising. So we've worked a lot with a flag, but I've not worked with a full bag. So there's going to be something a little bit new for him. A step up from what he's used to. And this is what I mean about, you know, plastic bag blowing across the car park or across the competition arena when you're out at a show. You know, you want to be able to put up with stuff like this without a reaction. So that's cool. I'm going to touch him with it, rub him. No reaction there at all. He's super cool with that. Awesome. I'm going to drop this lead on the ground. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. And this thing makes a fair bit of noise, so it's not like it's sneaking around on him, you know. It's really making a lot of noise. And I've seen a lot of horses, especially the first time they see this, really lose their shit. And there, the breeze sort of blew that bag right up into his face there. And that's the thing with this bag on a stick like this. The bag sort of has a bit of a mind of its own, depending on what the breeze is doing. So I'm not fully in control of where it goes. I'm relying on him, trusting him to be in control of himself, regardless of where it goes. So that's really, really cool that sort of, it went over his head there. I'm going to put it back up there again. So there's a reaction. I'm going to work on mitigating that reaction. I want to lessen that reaction. I'm going to keep pestering him with this now until he stops reacting to it. I'm going to pull it up over his head here. He's wanting to pull away, so I'm going to take hold of this lead again now. We're going to work on this. I'm going to touch him with it, rub him with it, up over his eyes and his ears. As long as he's reacting, I'm not going to take it away. So I've worked with rugs over his head and stuff. So I want him to learn, make this go away, his head needs to come down. Rub him with it. Rub him with it. Good. Rub him with it. I'm going to put a little pressure, downward pressure on his head there, and I'll take it away. And we'll go back to it. I'll rub him with it. That's a good change. I'll take it away there. And I'll go straight back up there again. Cool. That's a really nice change there. Rub him with it. Let it flap over his eyes. Flap over his head. I want him to bring his head down a bit more by himself. So I'm going to wait on to keep doing this until he brings his head down a little more. I'm just going to keep pestering him with it. There, he dropped his head about an inch. I'm going to step away. So I want him to get the idea that when he feels like he's in trouble, when he feels like he can't handle something, I want him to stop. I want him to relax and drop his head. That's cool. Right, now I'm going to leave that rope on the ground there again now. I'm going to go for a bit of a walk here. A little bit of a flinch there. I'm going to stay in this spot. No more flinch. Cool. Good. I'm going to touch him and rub him. This is really cool. I like how he's putting up with all this stuff. Again, I'm going to have a bit of a focus up around his head because that's where we got a reaction before. Cool. And his first action there is he dropped his head about a ½ inch. I'm going to keep playing around here. I want to drop it a little bit more. Look for a bit of a change. It's really rubbing around his eyes there. No reaction. He jacked his head up a ½ inch. I want him to come down. I want that head to drop a little. There, he's dropped his head about a ½ inch. Step away. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I'm going to toss this outside the arena here. He's wanting to come with me. That's pretty cool. I like that. Good kid. All done. Alright, we'll go over to the mounting block. So I'm going to do less and less and less groundwork with him now. So we've been on him a bunch of times and he's sort of starting to get the idea with everything. So I'm going to do more and more ridden work. Ask him to come in, lift that rein up. Good kid. A little more. Jiggle the rein. Good kid. Well done. Give him a pat there. So the one thing we've had a little issue with at this time when we're working on the mounting block is he doesn't want to laterally flex here. He gets a bit bracy. That's cool. So every time I've done this so far, when I pick up and ask for that flexion, he wants to move away first. He doesn't want to just flex for me and get soft. So that's really cool. That's the first time he's done it straight up. Can we give him a pat there? And now he's hanging out on this side with me where he has been hanging out with his head the other way. So this tells me he's getting more engaged and more interested, and he's more willing to be with me. He's not looking for a way out. So that's really cool. Good kid, well done. I just shifted on the block and he got a bit of a fright. It's alright, I'll start scuffing my boots and stuff on the block now. Give him something to be frightened of. Desensitised to that a bit. There, he wants to move away. I'm going to lift on that rein. See, nope, come back in. Come back in. Good. No, come back in. So I haven't had to touch him with the stick there, but I'll just give him a little cue with the stick in the air, just to remind him, because we're working on both moving him away from the block and bringing him into the block. So that's so that we can control how far into the block he comes, because he has knocked me off the block a couple of times, getting a little bit over keen with coming in, thinking he knows exactly what to do, and he's getting it a little bit wrong and overdoing it. So I asked for reflection there. Very nice. And he's keen to hang out there for a bit with me. That's cool. Alright, now I'm going to give him a different cue. I'm going to point, and I'm going to go tap the rib cage, move him away. Good. And now I'm going to send him off. Good. Pick up trot. Good. And yield to hind quarter. Good. Change direction. Very nice. And yield to hind quarter. Good. And he knows this is how smart he's getting. He's over anticipating. I send him to the left, send him to the right, and then when I yield a hind quarter after the second send, I'll ask him to back up. And so he's yielded his hind quarter and then backed up 2 steps. So that's cool. But now I'm actually going to ask him to back up because I didn't ask him the first time. Good. Good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see how far back I can send him and then draw him into the block. Good. Give him a little bit more line. Good. He's wanting to walk around there. Change hands with the stick and just give him a bit of a block there. Yield hindquarter. Good. So he's probably 3 or 4 metres out from the block now. I'm going to see if I can get one more back up. I'm going to step down. There, good. Now I want him to stay there. I just needed to overemphasise that back up a little because I want to see how far out I can have him before I draw him in. So I'm right on the end of the line there now. So that's a 12-foot lead. So what's that? 4 metres. I'm going to lift on that rein. So I'm just lifting on that rein, giving me a cue in the air with the stick. Come on. Now he's wanting to walk around. He's getting a bit confused. That's all right. Keep lifting on that rein, bumping on it. Good. Perfect. And that's the perfect distance too. That's right where I want him to get a foot in the stirrup. Good kid. Well done. So Kenny's a little bit behind on where I would say I'd normally have a horse at this stage of his training, just because he's just shown that he's wanted to be a little bit reactive. There's a boy. Well done. He's just shown he wants to be a little bit reactive. And with a horse his size, or for a horse his size, he's also very athletic. And so with his reactivity and the fact that he's as athletic as he is, I really want to be very careful about how much I push for, how much I ask for. And so he's been very tentative about walking forwards. And we got a fair bit of forwards yesterday. Some really nice relaxed walk. But then he got quite reactive when I asked for his first trot. So that's something I've got to be careful of. He's got such big movement that when I asked for that trot, the first couple of steps really set me up in the saddle, and he's sort of not like that feeling. So we'll work on that a bit. We'll see what we can get done today. I'll yield a hindquarter. Good. He's just a little bit reactive in how he moves there. He's going to walk off by himself. I'll pick up that rein and I'll hold on to that until he stops his feet and gets soft. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. He got a little bit resistant there. Jiggle on it, get him soft. Yield that hindquarter. Good. Hold on to him till he gets soft. Good. Alright, we'll go for a walk here. That's a nice forward, relaxed walk straight away. So that's really nice. We haven't had that yet with him. He's been very, very tentative about moving forwards. I'm just going to let him wander around here, get comfortable and sort of happy with his surroundings. I'm not going to ask much of him. I'm going to let him wander around, sort of check things out, relax into his movement, build his confidence a little. And then as long as he's not looking to stop somewhere, and I'm just going to pick a spot and pick up a hindquarter yield, and I'll tell him, and I'll give him the verbal cue, I'll tell him woo at the same time. So then that is the beginning of getting him to stop on our seat, off my seat. So I'm going to relax my seat, pick up that rein, left leg back, woo. Good. And we'll sit here for a sec. We'll let him think about things. And part of the problem, I think, with Kenny at the moment is he's just such a big, lanky, gangly giraffe that he's a little bit clumsy. He's still not 100% sure where he's putting his feet or what his legs are doing. He's gone to walk off there by himself. I'll pick up a flexion, hold him till he gets soft. Good. So he's just on that clumsy side of the spectrum. He's very athletic. Like I've seen him make some big moves, like, you know, roll over his hocks and turn around and all sorts of stuff. You know, when he gets anxious and he feels like he needs to move his feet, he's made some huge moves and does it really well. You know, I've seen when I've asked for a change of direction on a lunge, where he's just sat down on his ass and stopped and rolled over his hocks, and he's made these massive moves. But then at simple times where he's not having to do a whole lot, you know, I've seen him trip over his own feet and step on himself and just really struggle with basic things. All right, mate. Let's go for a walk. I'm not too worried where he goes at the moment, or what way around the pen he goes. At the moment, we're just working on passenger lesson and one rein stops. So I just want him to cruise. If I put him at a walk, we stay at a walk. I don't care where he goes. If he wants to break to a trot, I shut him down. If he wants to stop his feet, I squeeze him back up to a walk. So this is the start of working on our gaits and our speed control. He's wanting to push on the fence rail a little there. I'm not going to make a big deal of that yet until he really pushes, and then I'm going to make him turn around. And I'll make him turn into the rail. I'm going to swap sides with that rein now and then. Man, I don't mind where he goes. He wants to cut across the middle, that's fine. And see, he's staying off that rail a little bit now. That's pretty cool. He's learned that lesson. I like that. He's looking to stop his feet. Wait for him to make the mistake. Wait for him to make the mistake. Oh, he keeps going. That's good. Swap sides on that lead. Pick up the rein. Relax my seat. Whoop. Hind-quarter yield. So I'm just getting him comfortable with things, with these basic things here. Give him a good pat there. Let him know he's doing the right thing. Reach back and pat his bum. This is something that I think a lot of trainers miss. And in talking to Kenny's owner, they were out to watch a session with him the other day. And it's a common problem, and I've seen it in horses I've worked on too, where you can't reach back and pat a horse on the bum like this, you know, when you're in the saddle. They'll sort of react to it. They'll have a big explosive reaction to it. You know, they'll try and squirt. They'll get a fright and try and squirt out from under you or some type of thing like that. And I've had it before with a horse where, you know, I've reached back like this to pat their bum, and the horse is pig rooted and kicked out, and I ended up landing on my head. So that's something that I sort of make sure every horse that I work with can do, because it's a really simple sort of a basic thing that, you know, it's only like, you wouldn't think of it, but it's something that can make a big difference to a horse out at a show or out at an event. You know, you want they've done a good job, and you want to tell them they've done a good job, and then you reach back and pat them on the bum, and you end up landing on your head, and you know, nobody wants that. So that's something that I work on a lot. And I'll go for a walk. And got him on a nice loose rein here. I just want him to walk out, relax and open up, not be too bothered by anything, not feel like he's bound up or anything like that, you know. So he's a bit of a slow processor at times, Kenny, and I think that's the problem with the reactivity that I've found with him. I've found him most often, and the biggest reaction he has is the most often I most often get these reactions, and the biggest reactions that I've seen from him are when I'm asking him to switch from one manoeuvre to another pretty quickly. So like a hindquarter yield into a shoulder draw for a change of direction. When I first started working on that, it created big reactions. And then as well, when I started working on coming out of a lunge and I yield a hind quarter and want to back him up straight away, that'd turn into a big reaction. So I think it's just a matter of a processing speed for him. He just needs to think about things a little more. Alright, so he's pretty relaxed at his walk here. I want to see if we can get a trot. He's reacted and squirted a little bit there. That's a little better. That's a bit better. So I'm just waiting for him. When he picks up the trot, he gets a release. When he drops back to a walk, I'll squeeze him up into a trot. He's getting a little bit better. And a little bit of a squirt there. And woo. Good. That's a little bit of an improvement there. So just let him stop and think about that for a minute.